going. Well, my name is Lisa Zimmerman, and I'm a health coach, a certified health coach, a certified personal trainer, and I'm a certified yoga instructor. I have my own practice. It's Evolve Wellness Health Coaching, and I serve most of Suffolk County. I don't typically go into Nassau County. I work also with a physician-led practice, and provide those services with a medical doctor. It's very unusual and pretty cool that I've found a physician colleague who sees what I do is important, mostly because I think that he understands I'm following the lifestyle medicine protocol, so the lifestyle medicine pillars. So there's the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and that drives a certain area of medicine, which is called lifestyle medicine, and that's part of what I do. And then I just overall have a very eclectic medical background in neuroimaging research, so studying the brain. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for at least a decade. And I also was part of the team that collaborated on creating a lifestyle medicine selective for fourth-year medical students at Stony Brook, meaning students who are in their fourth year have this opportunity to select lifestyle medicine classes and integrate it into their learning, their student learning, and then decide if they want to even practice that way. So it's really been an amazing journey. And I've coached and trained in these aspects for the last 17 years, and I hope to be able to do it for another 17 years. So my own journey to wellness, just so you know a little bit more about me personally, because that's my education blurb, my work history blurb, is that I really wasn't always well. It's interesting because my pediatrician was very good, and I was always overweight, and I was always being put on a diet. I really distinctly remember that being like 12 or 13, and having to go home and do a diet after seeing the pediatrician. And so that extended into my 20s. And I remember just hitting college years and not feeling well. And, in your 20s, you're supposed to be kind of vibrant and happy and fun and a little confused and definitely trying to figure out where your life is going in whatever capacity. But I really felt tired all the time. I was dieting all the time. I was a smoker, but I was a vegetarian because that's healthier. But I was really just a junk food junkie because, vegans are, Oreos are vegan. So you can really wind your way. But I definitely eat more vegetables probably than most people my age. But I was really frequently sick. So one of the things that I did was what most people do when they are in, on a university campus that is also a medical school, is use that insurance and use that system. So I had access to physicians, and over a year I was not really getting anywhere. They were doing histories and blood work and exams. And it wasn't until one particular physician's really well-meaning, but he said, I think you may be depressed, and I just want to give you a prescription for Prozac. And in a very kind and loving way and really understanding way, but I just knew that wasn't the answer for me. I think that medications are amazing. I think they save lives. I think that pharmaceutical industry has its place. I'm not against medications, and I think these medications help people who are depressed, but I didn't think that was my issue. And so I really decided to shift my education and start to learn more about nutrition and fitness. And so along the way, what I did really early on was I quit smoking cigarettes. Hello, that's pretty big, right? But, that was a big one. I started to move. I started to really explore fitness and movement. That wasn't something I, as the fat girl, picked last on the team in gym. That I was not athletic. So that was kind of new for me. I actually started to run because I needed something to do because I quit smoking. And then I don't know why I did that, but that's what I did. But as I shifted into eating in ways that was healthier for me, that sugar and caffeine up and down, that roller coaster went away, because typically it was eating vegan cookies, having coffee with almond milk, and then just finding some other kind of really sugary, low fiber, high glucose snack, and then going on this up and down, and your mood changes. when you're hungry, when you're hangry, you're angry and you're hungry because you have these dips, your mood goes where your blood sugar goes. And so my my um my mindset, so to speak, was a lot better. And I was more confident. I had better self-esteem because some of the things cleared up. A little bit of breaking out kind of went away, and your clothes fit you. I wasn't standing in front of the closet trying to figure out what I'm going to wear, what's going to fit. So now I'm in my 50s, and I feel better than I did in my 20s, which is kind of sad. But 20s, are a challenging time of exploration for a person. But you would just think that the energy level and the vibrance would be better. So what this is saying is that lifestyle really does influence how we live and how our life goes. And so today I want to talk to you about three things. I want you to understand the difference between a diet and a lifestyle change, because right now they're talking so much about new year, new you, and reinventing oneself, and all these tips are coming out. And I find some of them to be really just like really unauthentic and almost insulting. Some of us are just trying to get through like last year and maybe a day ago. So to all of a sudden throw that at a person is really obnoxious. Also, they're preaching diet, they're not preaching long term. So I want to give you some tools, and I'm going to touch upon this. I do have a whole talk about this, but mindful eating and what it is and how it combats stress eating, because a lot of us are eating to self-soothe. And the other thing is giving you a couple tips that you can use to begin meal planning, whether it's takeout, whether it's using a meal service, or whether it's just getting into the kitchen and cooking. So, or a combination. Right now, we're being inundated, as I said, for many different things. And these are things that are not so bad. I mean, going to bed early, that's part of lifestyle change. Eating less chocolate, whatever. If it's dark chocolate, I don't know, I should remove that part of the slide. But anyway, eating less candy, eating less sugar. Joining a gym or a yoga studio, maybe if you feel comfortable doing that, or finding a Zoom class. Yes. Avoidance of risky substances. A lot of people that I'm working with in the medical practice and in my own practice have shared with me that their drinking increased last year. And a lot of them are looking to kind of shift back into a better drinking pattern. So I've seen that. Detox, there's really no such thing, but anyway, and then starting a diet, starting a new way of eating. So that's what we're seeing. This is just a funny slide. It's just to add a little humor, a little lightness into it. But basically, this is not real, but it's a pie chart, and it's showing how long we're going to keep our New Year's resolutions. If you're colorblind, then my husband is as well. You'll see that there is a big pie, part of the pie, and it's green. But if you're colorblind, you may or may not see it. But basically, they already forgot. So this is funny. We're not there yet, but by March, like from an industry perspective, that's when people are done. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. And this is very cyclical. You'll notice that from Halloween all of a sudden into December, there's this like incredible marketing blitz and influences. And I love many of them. Honestly, I love the holidays and things like that, but I'm just talking about what happens sequentially. And right now, what we're being hit with is something that has been done all the time. And so you have so many trends that come and go. I mean, there was a time people eat, I believe it was some kind of candy that had tapeworm eggs in it. And that's not really something you should do. There was the baby food diet. Many times cigarette advertisers went out of their way to market cigarettes as almost something that has a health benefit, like less scratchy throat, or your doctor smokes XYZ. If you smoke these cigarettes, you're going to have a slender figure. Then there's, remember Sensa, it was a package you opened up, you sprinkled it on your food. People buy these things, and it's really sad because they don't really work. I remember cabbage soup diet. I remember the smell because I think my mother did that. I love cabbage sauteed, but not boiled. Grapefruit diet, and I don't know, the flat tummy water diet. I have no idea what that is, but we see where we're going with this and how silly some of it really sounds. So why do we even diet in the first place? Well, there's a lot of different reasons and a lot of different theories, and this is a whole area of public health and medicine and psychology. And I don't have every reason in the world, but a huge component is there's almost like a wheel in a sense that we're on, where we find ourselves overweight, especially as Americans, and even England, and there's other parts of the world, but us in particular. And we are either admonished by our physician, or we feel it, or maybe our partner says something to us, or maybe we injure ourselves, or maybe we feel it when we're going up and down stairs, and we say, okay, I have to do something. And the I have to do something becomes extreme. It's not something that's sustainable. It's, oh my God, I have to throw all my energy into this, immediately conquer this. And that's not how lifestyle change usually works, because if it worked, then I wouldn't be having this conversation. So then what happens is there's that restrictive diet. I'm never going to have again. And the deprivation mindset all of a sudden sets in. And then there's stress, there's life. I mean, even before COVID-19, people were always working with us to talk about stress reduction or positive social connections, or yoga, meditation, as a component of health. And so people were stressed, and they have their breaking point. So they go back to their old habits because they haven't created new ones. And these are comfort foods, and we use food to soothe ourselves. We use food to make ourselves feel better. It's very available, and we were doing that probably before, and even more so now. So what we wind up going around in a circle. And the problem is the restrictive diet piece, and that's a whole other talk. But I'll try to, sprinkle in little things throughout the way. So really, what is lifestyle change versus just a diet? And so I know I've thrown the word lifestyle around a lot: lifestyle medicine, American College of Lifestyle Medicine, lifestyle change. It's a very broad term, but lifestyle change really looks like this. First of all, it's long-term. So I've told you my life story and how I really started to get my life together nutritionally, lifestyle, medicine-wise at 28. So it's long-term. I've maintained most of those habits. Yeah, 2020 may have set back a little bit in one area, but I'm pretty healthy. And so, yes, it's been long-term. It's been more than 30 years. Okay, it's been 30 years. Consistency. So it's not perfect. It's one day at a time. It's one moment at a time. It's one decision at a time. Achievable plans. So people will tell me things like, well, when I'm 40, I expect to be in shape. And I'm like, well, how are you going to do that? It's in 2 years. Like, let's have a plan. They don't really want to just have a plan. They just want to think that it might happen. So that's not really connected with reality. So having a really achievable, measurable plan that you work on by yourself or with someone else. And then the habits are new, and they are positive habits. So again, that can move and shift and wax and wane, but overall with lifestyle change, the habits are forward, they're positive. Now, a diet is what usually is being marketed to us at this time of year, and they're short term. I'm going to go on this diet, I'm going to lose the weight, but what happens afterwards? Where are you going to be 5 years from now, or maybe a year from now? It's an on and off, and it gets cyclical, and we kind of get in this. We're kind of predictable in our holidays and kind of our calendar in some ways, and how that, Halloween starts, and then the holidays and Thanksgiving, blah, 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 and then New Year's, and then it just goes around in a circle. So you want something that's not off. You want it to be on. You want it to be consistent. And then really just having unrealistic goals. Like I said, it's an example, but another thing is, I'm going to run a 5K in, 4 weeks, and the person has, not done something like that for a while. They're probably going to hurt themselves. So that's a big piece of it too, and understanding it. And then really understanding that you don't want temporary habits, and that's what a diet will give you. It's going to give you temporary habits. So these foods on this list are not definitive. I am not saying, oh, you need to eat every one of these foods now, and that's going to make work for you. What I'm saying is that part of lifestyle change is eating in moderation. And we're going to talk a lot about this and what moderation means. But the fact is this: most people who keep themselves well and eat well typically, and when we can look at different areas of the world, and there's books I can recommend if anyone asks me later. But the people, the population, they eat whole foods, nutrient dense whole foods. I don't think anybody here is like, oh, really surprised, right? But this is the truth. So fruits, veggies, lean meats, fish. You're vegan, you don't need to eat those. You got the beans and the legumes. You're not vegan, you should be eating beans and legumes only if you can tolerate them. If they make your GI tract miserable, then don't worry about them. Nuts and seeds, obviously, allergies, don't eat them. Dairy and eggs, again, an allergenic, but for some people, they like it. Some people, they don't eat animal products and whole grains. So just be aware that these groups are really broad, especially the fruit and veggie and the bean and legume and the nut and seeds groups, and definitely the herbs and spices. So just something to look about. So my belief is that when we demonize food and we moralize food, and we become so extreme and so dogmatic and start calling things clean, I'm eating clean, I'm detoxing, I'm going on a cleanse, and some of these things can have benefits, but there's a good food and a bad food. So if you eat the bad food, oh, I ate Malamars. Malamars are on the sale, right? And I ate half the box. They are bad, and that makes me bad for eating them. So I don't like to give labels. Plus, it's silly. They really, there's no like bad things in Malamars. It's just the amount that you eat. So I don't believe in forbidden or off limit foods. And I also think that we really should drink alcohol and have donuts and cookies and fried foods if we don't have some type of disordered eating issue that needs to be met with a professional around that. But generally speaking, most people can eat these foods and learn to eat them in moderation rather than just completely pushing them out and say, I'm never going to eat them again, and going into a deprivation mindset and going into a mindset of good versus bad. So this is not moderate eating right here. So what does moderation look like? And this is just an example. Yours will look different. Maybe you are vegan, maybe you're vegetarian, you're a pescatarian, maybe you don't eat donuts for some reason. But just generally speaking, think about what we're seeing. So Monday through Friday, they're having the oatmeal, the eggs, the blueberry, the salad and the chicken for lunch, a snack. They're having a protein shake and an apple. And then dinner is some broccoli, a sweet potato, and some salmon. And then Saturday and Sunday, they become weekend warriors. I've never done this, right? Of course I have. But what is wrong here is the balance. So remember, we want the healthy to be the default. Healthy is not the default in our culture and in other cultures. We very much live on the bottom rather on the top. So fun weekends, these can happen, but this cannot be something that happens all the time because it's not balanced in favor of nutrient-dense whole food. So this can be what moderation looks like. So Monday, oatmeal, the eggs, the blueberries, the grilled chicken salad, the shake, and the salmon dinner. And then they kind of close out the night with 2 cookies later in the evening. I would suggest Chips Ahoy, but everybody's got their chocolate chip cookie. But it was a nice way to have moderation, but end the evening with something really sweet and something really good. And then Tuesday comes around, but for the lunch, they add a slice of pizza. And then they just go about what they were having. And then on Wednesday, they add in a Butterfinger. So during the lunch, during the post lunch and the snack. And then there's a glass of wine at dinner. So what you're seeing here is what crowding out looks like and what adding in looks like. So the crowding out the previous, where they make it healthy is the default, but you can add in things here and there rather than absolutely saying no and putting yourself in a deprivation mindset and putting yourself in a panic because you feel like you can never have these things again. Other component of really resetting yourself in a sense for the new year, really resetting your mindset is mindful eating. And I'm really going to just breeze through this because it's actually another talk that I give. If you go to my website and you look in the events section, I believe I should be teaching it next week, but I don't know for sure. I could look it up. So this is a quote about mindful eating. And this mindful eating, Thich Nhat Hanh is a Vietnamese monk. He created the Plum Village. He recently went back to his country. He's, I believe, in his 90s. He's still teaching. He's still talking, but on a different level. But he's got these amazing books, and some of them he made a really small library collection, when like small books. But he talks about what mindful eating is not. And he says most of the time we are eating on autopilot, eating on the run, eating our worries or anxieties from the day's demands, anticipations, irritations, and to-do lists. And so what he's talking about here, at least to me, if we were in a live actual setting, I would be having a conversation with you, but it's hard to do on Zoom, is that we are not mindfully eating. We are doing everything else while we're eating. And so we're not even really connecting with our food, and we're using food to soothe ourselves. Food is a very good way to alter our moods. I'm not going to say food is addictive. I think that's a very, very specific term. So I would not go that far, but very close. And so that's what he speaks of. And so what is mindful eating? And so that makes me say to you, well, what is mindfulness? And that's one of these concepts that have been thrown around, and Newsweek does their little expose, and you see it in the magazine section of supermarket, and it's got some woman who's like this. Okay, mindfulness is hard. It's just bringing your attention to the present moment. And the way I would describe it to you is this: our brains are built to time travel in a way, very good at it. And so a lot of times, I'm going to date myself here, but I will say that it's like a tape recorder. We're either rewinding, thinking about the past, thinking about something in the past, ruminating about the past, wishing we were there in the past, wishing we could have changed something, or we're fast forwarding, what if, this could happen, that could happen, X, Y, Z, but we're not pressing play. We're not really here in the actual present. And so our brains were designed to do this. It's nothing wrong with us. You do have to learn and practice how to bring yourself to press play. So that's my description of mindfulness just for today. And so what is mindful eating? So really, mindful eating is becoming aware of those physical and emotional cues. So for me, this morning I woke up standing in front of the fridge several times, even though I ate already, just being like, I need something. And sometimes I'll drop down and go, okay, what does it really need before I'll go and eat something? And I was just like, I just really am annoyed right now. And, things out there are a little annoying. So I feel like I need something. So I chose the healthiest thing I could find, which I actually put a bowl of carrots and little baby carrots that are there. I didn't really go for that, but I usually put that front and center. But there was an awareness of what was going on. Some days I can just go, I have no idea. Let me go do something else. So noticing those cues, and also noticing how food affects your body and mood. So the most prime example that I can think of is I took this cooking class with this really nice local Long Island chef, not pretentious at all. And he made this really awesome pie. I don't know what it was. I had a slice. And then I went to just go walk and look at his kitchen with the class. And I felt like lightheaded, and I felt like my heart palpitating. And I was like, I never noticed the effect that sugar has on me before. It was very interesting. So there's that connection. You eat cheeseburgers and French fries and a shake one night for dinner, and the next night maybe you have salmon and salad and broccoli and hummus or whatever you eat, and how do you feel between those meals. And then the other aspect of mindful eating is really making a understanding, a choice towards the idea that you can eat and really try to care about yourself, really try to care about your body and think about what you're putting in, not to stuff down a feeling or an emotion or soothe yourself, but also how it is affecting you physically, how it is affecting your mood, and how it is affecting um, areas of your life, family, work, sleep, whatever. So the other thing is, how do we know a little bit more about what mindfulness is? So we'll just dig in a little bit more. And there's a really good book called Man's Search for Meaning. Dr. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist. He is a Holocaust survivor. And this book was really interesting. It's very small, not like, I don't even want to read big tomes or anything, big books. So really tiny, really amazing read. And one of the things he says is between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose a response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. And I invite you, if you want, even though I told you not to touch your phone, you're welcome to take a picture of this, because there's a lot going on here. And normally when I teach this class, there's a lot of discussion about it, but we can't do that right now. So I'm just going to give you what I believe he's saying. I believe, and some examples. So what I believe he's saying is, life gives us stimulus or triggers, and then ultimately we respond to them. But we as human beings, as human animals, not non-human animals, have this ability to kind of hold ourselves back and pause before we decide to respond. And when we do that, we grow, we change, we think, we pause, we take a breath, we learn that things are not black and white, that they're nuanced, and then we make a choice. And it's very powerful. And I think it's part of why he got through the Holocaust as best as he did. So an example is, and I'm making this up, I'm on the road, there's some like really just awful driver, and I'm right behind them, and I could my immediate response to me is to road rage, or I could take a deep breath, just stop for a second, really quickly think, this person's crazy, this person's just, on something, or this person just got bad news, or they are driving somebody to the hospital. I don't know. So I'm just going to pull back and just let it be and not respond. So that's in essence what I think he means by this. And so you can bring this to many aspects of your life, but in the eating sense, you can bring it there, which brings you back to the cabinet or brings you back to the refrigerator when you're finding yourself opening and looking for something. But this could be for really any part of your life. So mindful eating is, again, understanding and noticing, maybe even writing down or documenting some of those patterns without judgment. Judgment does not work. The science shows that self-compassion is way more effective. People can bully themselves, they can bully others into submission, into changing, but it tends to work better when it comes from the person who actually wants to do it, and the person is very compassionate towards themselves. The other thing is, we talked about creating the space between the triggers and the actions. Definitely through your breath. First thing is, take a deep breath. I cannot recommend that enough. It's almost like your stop sign. And then again, asking yourself, try to drop in. You won't always get an answer, but are you hungry? Are you anxious? What is it that is going on will help you decide whether you want to go for the food. And then this is a whole other lecture too, but knowing what your self-soothing techniques are that are going to calm your mind and relax your body. And that is homework for you. So if you want to write homework down, write down create emotional wellness toolbox. That is where you would write down a list of maybe 5 things that are soothing to you. Some of these things people are going to hate: candles, lotion, petting the dog, going for a walk, everybody doing Legos, building model cars, like everybody has their own way. So that's a little project, something if you want to think about. So what are some more strategies as we really think about this? And the reality is that, we often tell ourselves that we're too busy to eat healthy. But the reality is this: if you want good energy, you want that clear thinking, right? And you want good health. You don't want to get sick right now. No good. Anything we can do to just keep like a nice baseline level of health is good. So you do need good health, and you do need it to deal with your life, or whatever that life means. I mean, um, I have patients and I have clients, they have ranged from having elderly parents that they have to take care of, to parents that are living with them, to not having a job, to having a job. I mean, there's so many things going on. So good health is important. It is the platform, it's the launch pad for the rest of your life. So think about what's in your kitchen. Now, remember what I said, I am not a um, good food, bad food, clean food, dirty food. I don't know what the heck that means. But what I will say is I do believe that we should be crowding out as opposed to taking away. So if I'm like, nah, all of that on the right is going, that's not going to work. So what I believe is really adding in. So I buy products from the right. I got Eggo waffles in my freezer. It makes breakfast quite easy. The other problem is all these beautiful fruits and vegetables are amazing, but they require cooking. They require a place to cook. They require chopping. They require knife skills. They require seasoning skills. It's not like, grapes and apples and oranges are easy, and bananas, but a lot of the vegetables require cooking and skills. And I don't know if home economic exists in the school system. So what I always say is, as if you're beginning out, really take it slow and say, you know what? We're going to eat our Lunchables. No, that wouldn't work. We're going to have a Hot Pocket. We're going to have a pizza, Celeste pizza, whatever it is. But we're going to saute some onions and broccoli and put it on the pizza or put it on the side and just kind of experiment. So adding in. And the easiest way to add in is with the fruits and vegetables, especially if you have kids. Very easy. So it's really a spectrum, and it's not being in one extreme or the other. But I would say if you were to choose a side, just try to be more on the whole food side. So when we don't have a schedule that is working for us, it becomes hectic, and then the casualty is the takeout. I will talk about not good takeout, how I do takeout, and you can use what you learn and change it and make it work for you. Junk food comes in, and the frozen foods. So why do we not want to eat those things? I mean, it really comes back to eating the high quality, nutrient dense whole foods. And I talk about that again, the ones that you can tolerate, the ones that you can eat, the ones that you ethically choose to eat. So there's another book. This is Michael Pollan. He's a journalist. He's a professor, and he wrote Food Rules, an Eater's Manual. And it's a little tiny book. It's got lovely illustrations in it. And he's got these like really witty food rules. And, some of them you can follow. Some of them you're like, wow, that's really wise. I should follow that. And I like this one. He says, don't eat anything your great grandmother wouldn't recognize as food. And I would say most of the time don't do that, because I think that, Cocoa Krispies can be fun sometimes. But what I don't like about the food industry is this. So I want to just open your mind a little to how we're marketed to, which is why it makes it hard to make decisions. So Cocoa Krispies back in 2010 wrote on their boxes, sent out to print, and marketed that this cereal, if you eat it, will boost a person's immunity. And it has 25% daily value of antioxidants and nutrients, which most processed food is fortified. But anyway, so they got fined millions of dollars, but it didn't matter because they made more than millions. And that's absurd. I mean, that's absolutely absurd, right? And we know there's ample evidence, incredible literature, amazing studies to show that your grandmother was right, eat your fruits and vegetables. But imagine being a mom who's got 4 kids, and she's exhausted, and 2 of them have ear infections, and she's walking down the shopping aisle, vulnerable, not really thinking critically, and says, oh, my kids will eat that. That's going to help them get better. So I think anybody can be manipulated by marketing. And so just to have your mind open, read your labels, look at the claims and say, yeah, is that right? Or, oh, that makes sense. The other thing that is going to help you with lifestyle change is getting in the kitchen. And I find that we as a culture watch a lot of cooking shows, but we're not really cooking that much. Um, so I find it interesting. And I guess to me, it means that we want to cook, but we just don't feel comfortable enough. So what I say is really just take those first courageous steps and get in the kitchen. I started cooking 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and I was awful. I made things that were brown. Um, I moved into a home and I didn't know the system for the alarm, and I wasn't able to turn it off when something I made burned and the fire trucks came. And so it wasn't, this beautiful start like Julia Child's just cooking, or Alton Brown, or whoever you like. So it was a series of trials and errors. And a really good entry level into cooking, as if it's not something that you have done in a while or you've never done, is what we'll talk about, which is a recipe, ingredient, and delivery service. But what I want to say first is, before we talk about the cooking, is really knowing which meal is most important to you. And for me, having dinner prepared, because I know that with my husband, we've gotten home at the end of the night and there was the, what do you want? I don't know what you want. And then you get hangry because your blood sugar drops. You've been working all day. You've been inhibiting yourself all day, working with people and managing people, whatever. And so you get in a really bad mood. So what I say is try to meal plan for a week. And if that's too much, meal plan for a day. Just experiment with it and have a shopping list. Some people still do the traditional shopping list on the fridge. We do Amazon Alexa, even though I don't like her and I want her to leave. My husband likes her, so she's in the house. But what I will say is that 15 minutes of planning, front loading 15 minutes, really, really saves time. It really simplifies your life. So meal planning, you can schedule it. I have it on my phone. I have Sunday as the day. I make it as important as I make any other a doctor's visit, um, all my work meetings throughout the day. So I put it on there so I know I have time blocked out. Somehow all of us got to this meeting tonight, and I'm assuming it's because we all blocked it out on our calendar. So use a phone, use paper, whatever, calendar, doesn't matter. And so again, plan for 1 or 2 days. And then we'll talk about this, cooking extra and using leftovers. And then if you can, involve your family. So I was a little resistant at first cooking with my husband, but we've been cooking now together for like 20 years. And does he clean the way I want him to clean and cook it clean as he goes? No. But so I just let him do all the cooking because he's great. And then I clean, and then vice versa. So it's nice because if we don't have this being taught in schools, if there's no home ec, kids will do well learning if their parents give them some skills, so that by the time they get to adulthood, they know how to fry an egg, know how to boil an egg, they know how to boil water. It's kind of important. So if you can, and if you have that opportunity, let other people participate. So how do you make a plan? So everybody's different. Some people like magazines. Hi. Some people like searching the internet, they have blogs that they subscribe to. There's apps. There's food TV. There's an app that I like. I have no affiliation with it. It is free. I came across it, and it's a tool that I recommend to patients and clients. It's called Meal Lime. So it's like I'm saying mealtime to you, but Meal Lime. So it's literally MEALIME. And if you don't get it, I'll let you know later. But what I like about it is the free version is really great. It says to you, are you, lactose intolerant? Are you vegan? Are you kosher? Whatever. And then you tell them your parameters. They pull up a bunch of recipes for you. You choose the recipes, and then it generates a shopping list for all those recipes, and then the kitchen tools that you need. So I think that's really nice. I thought it was a really, really nice app, and I like that it's free. So it's Meal Lime, MEALIME. I know it's on Play Store. I'm assuming Apple would have it, but who knows? Anyway, so getting a plan in place is super, super important. Now, the thing is that, again, If you haven't cooked for a while, or you don't like cooking, or you never like cooking, or you're now curious about cooking, I've tried all of these. And what I'll say is my favorite is HelloFresh. And the reason is I thought the price point was the best. I thought the ability to fine tune what it is you need, again, lactose intolerant, or you're gluten-free, or you are pescatarian, they just had that ability to give you more variety for what it was you wanted to eat and how you want to eat. Blue Apron, it was a culinary experience. It had a lot of ingredients, it had a lot of work. So yes, things are prepared for you, but if you're wanting to get a meal out in 30 minutes, it just didn't. And then Plated and Green Chef were like, meh, they're okay. I mean, it wasn't bad, but they didn't stick out to me. So that's my take on these. Other thing that you can do, growing up, my mother always had this. I would get up on the counter and look, she had that black box that was a recipe box, and it always had like silver rivets in it. And, there was recipes and there were index cards, and sometimes there was newspapers taped to it, and sometimes it was typed. And so that was the way that she knew what was going to be for dinner for the week. So you guys can do the same thing. I actually have one of these myself. This is not it. There's no sauce on it, so it's clean. But basically what it is you get those sheets of the slips, the clear slips that would fit in here and would go through the loose leaf holes, those 3 holes, and you put all your recipes that you tear out from magazines, or you get from a blog, and you put them in here. And those are your tried and true. Those are the recipes. I have like 50 recipes that I can just flip through. I know that everybody's going to eat it, and they're going to like it, and they know how to cook it. And then in the pocket, I put recipes that I want to try that I haven't gotten around to trying. You can always put your meal plans in there if you're a meal plan person, and your shopping list can be on your phone, could be in there. But for me, this is just like the modern recipe box. I'm not sure why we went away from that, but anyway, so this is my take on it. I guess because we are not like using index cards anymore. I don't know, but I actually have some of my parents' recipes in my binder in that form. Just it's cute to look at. The other thing is food shopping. So in order to really shift your lifestyle into healthier eating, or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, it's really important to have a plan. I have gone to Costco and purchased like $200 worth of Elmer's glue and bleach and envelopes, and just like stuff that I didn't get past the supply section and the cleaning section. Like, it just made no sense. So yes, that was aimless. And I've also, didn't shop, and then I was eating cheese and I was eating cereal out of so really just make sure that you kind of know the importance of the shopping and set the date for it. Make sure that, you get there once a week, depending on how much you need to buy, depending on the size of your family. I try to avoid, even before COVID-19, I usually avoided crowds. Again, I'm just not someone who enjoys crowds. So I usually find Friday night enough if you can do that. And then pretty much like after like 11 o'clock, no one seems to be there. So that could change by the day, but that's if that's something that really matters to you. So you can just get in and out and not get distracted. And again, having that shopping list, knowing it is, what you need. My son knows to ask for strawberries or blueberries, or the other day he put like 1,000 puppies on there, which was not a good idea, but it's amusing. And then our online grocery and delivery service, which is really popular now. So there's Shipt, there's Peapod. I know some of us are tired of using them. Some of us love using them. So, they do really make life easier and safer in some ways. Very often I get the question, well, okay, what should I be eating? And I'm going to show you what's in my pantry and what's in my freezer, but I'm not telling you that this is what you're supposed to get. Because what I like, and my palate and my family's palate, and what I can tolerate from a digestion perspective is different. But I would say most people will benefit from. And some of them, it's like, no way, I'm never going to buy that. So just an idea, just me opening up my cupboard. So The idea of this as well is you can almost take a line and crisscross and find a meal in a way. It's almost like connect the dots. So canned beans, canned salmon, canned tuna, quick cooking grains, broth, diced and crushed tomatoes, nuts and seeds, artichoke hearts, roasted red peppers, dried mushrooms. I actually need to get some of those. Olives, pasta, sun-dried tomatoes, salsa. So just here you can see, okay, wait, I can get a nice whole grain pasta. I can put some hot water over the dried mushrooms and pour it out, make it into the broth, maybe put some olive oil, some olives. Like you can see how you can start mixing things together. The salmon and the turkey burger, you can take some avocado and put it on whole grain wrap or a whole grain bun, add some mustard. So all of these things, at least for the way that I cook, and maybe some for you. So I hope that if there's anything here you think you want to replicate, go ahead. Make meals for us in general. And this is just the pantry and the freezer. This is not the fresh produce. So I think if you have a large family or if you find yourself cooking for many people, it's really important to know what the default meals are. And so these are some default meals for people that I've spoken to. Some are my own. They're really nothing special, but we all have default meals. Sometimes for people it's macaroni and cheese, or it's a one pot lasagna, or chickpea soup, or quinoa, or I like to put cannellini beans and make escarole soup. It's wonderful. So yeah, knowing 5 of those recipes that you can make over and over that people will enjoy. The other thing is, maybe if you're not vegan or vegetarian, consider getting a rotisserie chicken and possibly buying more than one, because you can make different meals throughout the week. So day 1 could be chicken, grain and veggie. Day 2, you can shred the chicken and put it over a mixed salad. On the 3rd day, you can make a burrito, a wrap, and cube the chicken and add beans, salsa, guacamole, and just wrap it all up. And if you have anything left, on the 4th day, you can dice chicken, get some whole wheat pasta, chop some veggies, olive oil, salt, pepper, and other herbs, and that's another meal. The other thing is you can cook meals on multiple burners. So you can have an Instant Pot, you can have a Dutch oven, you can use a regular pot, you can use a slow cooker. And basically right now, those one pot meals that are great to make and freeze beautifully are chilies, soups, and stews. Also taco meat, a spiced taco meat, they freeze really well. So if I could make a suggestion, cook multiple meals and freeze half of it. And then one day when you come home, like, I don't know what to eat. And it's maybe like, 2 or 3 weeks later, you're like, oh yeah, we had that stew. I liked it. So that is a really amazing way to stretch the cooking time, so to speak. And really batch cooking makes a very big deal, really, really helps out. So I said before, Sunday is my cooking day, but what I like to do is I like to cook bulk and flavor it differently the next day or freeze it. So my husband tonight came home and he sauteed a bunch of Asian style vegetables, and then he made a Thai curry. But then he left some of those vegetables and made it so that they were not seasoned and put them in the refrigerator. And so tomorrow I'm probably going to make a Chinese stir fry with them. So making large quantities of anything, whether it's brown rice, whether it's stir fried vegetables, even pasta, is a really nice way to extend your cooking, especially when you batch like that. Some things freeze really well, so you can double it, like we said, with the chili and the tacos and the stew and the soups, and then building into leftovers, like we said, for another day. So I find that brown rice does really well as far as being a nutrient dense food, and then really does well in the refrigerator if it's covered properly. You can make enough for about 5 days. The other thing I love to do is make a large tray of roasted vegetables. So I like to cut up carrots, parsnips, onions, different vegetables that are hearty, maybe some potatoes, and put some olive oil on them, some salt and pepper, and then place them in a tray and then roast them. And that can last for a couple days in the fridge, and they taste great. The other thing is making salad. So I don't really like eating salad at this time of year, but my husband does, and he's really into spinach right now. So if that's something you enjoy eating this time of year, salads last, for a good 3 days in the refrigerator if you seal it very, very tight. Don't let air get in there. In salads, so experiment with beans. I just recently found Progresso makes a can of fava beans, and I've had fava beans fresh, and they're really nice. And they're really nice in the can because they don't smush and get mushy like other beans. They really are resilient. You can create just a bunch of pre-cooked vegetables, actually pre-cut. So when you want to make food, they're there. So we very often have little containers of chopped broccoli, chopped cauliflower, peppers, mushrooms, carrots, onions, and so on. And so that when we're ready to cook, these are kind of the staples of the foods that we cook. So whatever are the staples that you use to cook, having them ready, having a prep line is very, very helpful. You can stir fry them, roast them, saute them, steam them. The other thing is that prepping food is just something that you're feeling a little resistance to. So forget about breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Just think of about a snack. So if breakfast is where you want to go, you can do steel cut oats and have a portion each morning. I have a friend who does jalapeno and cheddar cheese. And she likes a savory oatmeal. I think it's clever. Some people like to do maple syrup. They put some cinnamon and some pecans on their steel cut oats. You can make a frittata, which is basically a quiche without the breading on the bottom, the pie filling. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it is amazing because what you do is you take your frying pan, I use a cast iron pan, and you saute all your vegetables up, and then you may be putting from anywhere from 7 to 14 eggs, depending on the size of your pan, and you whisk them up, put them in the pan, cook it up, and you just have this really beautiful snack where you can just take a piece, wrap it up. It could be breakfast, it could be a snack. Frittatas are amazing. And then, making a bean dipper hummus. I have found that they have really brought out some amazing hummus on the market. There's a new one called Ithaca, like upstate New York Ithaca. And there's one, it's lemon dill, and it's really good. So I almost stopped making my own dips and hummus because I'm finding really good store brand ones. But if that's something you enjoy doing, it's a very good plant-based protein snack. And it's something that you can prepare ahead, kind of get the sense that you're cooking and enjoying it, but not having to feel like you're in the kitchen longer than you might want to be. The other thing is always having some kind of snack that you compare. So having sliced up veggies, hard-boiled eggs are amazing for deviled eggs, egg salad sandwiches, or just taking that hard-boiled egg to go. It's already in its own shell. And frozen edamame is another really good plant-based protein snack. So you can find the frozen edamame shelled or unshelled and salted or unsalted in the frozen food section. So wherever you find your frozen vegetables, they're usually there. I know in Stop and Shop, they usually keep it on the top shelf. Things get really dire and really desperate. I don't do this very often, and there's nothing wrong with this. You're just kind of like, this is strange when you do it, but it works out and the kids love it. Having breakfast for dinner. So having the omelets, the scrambled eggs, the quiche or the frittata that we mentioned before, or maybe sauteing some greens, getting out some arugula or spinach or Swiss chard or escarole, whatever leafy green that you like, broccoli rabe. It can be broccoli, and frying them up and then just putting a fried egg over it and having a little bit of a sweet potato in it. Sweet potatoes are really nice and they're seasonal, and they're just a great winter vegetable. Or you can make yourself a sandwich. You get some whole grain or sprouted toast, get some tomato, avocado, bacon, if that's something you eat, some scrambled eggs, and you've made a sandwich, and it's a pretty good, nourishing dinner. So takeout, I like takeout. And what I do is I collect the menus from the places that I like to get takeout from. And then I highlight and sometimes write notes for each place. So then when I'm like, I really feel like Chinese, and there's some times where I'm like, I don't care. I'm not even going to read what is highlighted. But typically, I will open up the menu and I'll look through what I think the options are. And, Chinese, having that sauce on the side, it's really nice. You have the control of the amount of sauce. And that is a really nice thing to do. I always get brown rice over the white, sometimes a little bit of a container of white, but mostly brown. And I also always get an extra serving of steamed vegetables just to kind of get the vegetables in. The thing is you can go to a takeout health food store. Whole Foods has a really nice takeout section. Japanese have amazing things, not just sushi with brown rice, but there's a lot of really nice things on the menu. Italian, there's lots of vegetables and lots of grilled chicken. I didn't even put on Thai food. I forgot. Greek food, and then there's some Turkish restaurants. There's a place by us where I am called Hummus. So yeah, getting the menus, printing them out, knowing what you're going to order, and some days just saying, I'm going to order what I feel like. But there's lots and lots of amazing takeout options. The thing is, if you're somebody who feels like you may have blood sugar issues, or if you're somebody who skips breakfast, this happens. I don't agree with it, but what I always try to emphasize is if you can, and you know that you're not going to be home and you're going to be in a situation where you're going to need nourishment at some point because you're not at home, their fridge is not there, try to give yourself healthy snacks. And so just getting something that has protein, fat, and fiber. So PFF, protein, fat, and fiber, to satiate you and to make sure that your body stays healthy. So the nuts in themselves are protein, fat, and fiber, but you could also just take nuts and add an apple in to just kind of top it off. So some really good things that you can pack if you have a bag and you have ice, the ice pack. Some things don't need it, but the nut butter packets that they come right next to the nut butters, they're tiny little containers. You can find them. There are nuts and seeds, hummus and guacamole. Apples come, and pears usually come in their own little package, so you don't have to worry about it. But it's good. Even a Kind bar. Kind bars, they have 5 grams of sugar or less. That is a really great snack. So just something to think about. So in conclusion with you guys, really hope that you found something that you want to shift on. Maybe there was one thing and you wrote it down, and that's wonderful. You have the option of getting support from friends and family to help you create new habits. I think now more than ever, we realize that one of the pillars of lifestyle medicine, which is positive social connections, is really important. And we experienced that last year. So however you're able to connect with people in your life, and you feel like they're not going to try to be your therapist and that they're going to sincerely listen and support you, those are the people that you go to if you need support and help. And try to enjoy yourself. I mean, honestly, learning to cook wasn't so fun in the beginning, and quitting smoking and then starting running wasn't exactly the most enjoyable thing, but eventually sometimes things can be really satisfying and rewarding. And really be proud of yourself. It's okay to feel pride and feel inspired knowing that you're taking care of your family and yourself so that you can live long, healthy lives and lives that feel really good to live. So if you choose to do anything, just be patient with yourself. It really does take time to create a routine, and we sometimes resist, and sometimes we live in environments that don't support these changes. So that's why I always say pick one tip, just something manageable, whatever it is, really small, and work it into your schedule. And then when that is established, try something else. Small changes can sometimes make life-staggering differences. It's amazing that I have people I started drinking water and XYZ. So it's just something to think about. And the last thing I want to say is if you think that there's something you really did want to work on, something small, you want to maybe implement it tomorrow, I highly suggest you do it as soon as possible because of the law of diminishing intent. And really what that means is that the longer that you wait to do something you should do now, the greater the odds that you may never actually do it. And what I mean by that is, okay, here's me. I wake up at 7, get my son ready for school. I put on my sneakers, I got my workout clothes on, and I'm ready to go for a walk. And then I say, oh, let me just check my email. And then I look up, 3 hours later, and it's 11 o'clock, and I've been sucked into the work vortex. So immediate action is really important when we try to shift into different lifestyle habits. So that it would be, what I would say to you, because you don't want to be like me with my sneakers on checking my email. So I appreciate all of you for being here this evening. I know that many of us are getting zoomed out, and I know that we're tired, and your time is precious. So thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, you are welcome to email me if you don't feel like that you want to have anybody hear your question. You're welcome to do that, or you're welcome to send a chat. You can unmute yourself, whatever you're comfortable with. If you have no questions and no comments, I am not insulted. Again, I know that so many of us are on Zoom during the day for work, so it can get a little zoomed out. So anybody have any questions? I'm gonna put my email in here in the chat. I'll send it to you and see if anybody wants to chat with me live. All right. All right. Well, everybody, it was wonderful having you. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for having me. And I hope to see you at other programs, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and be well. And thank you, Harriet. Good night. And everybody, yes, please stay safe and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.